today, and we are going to be learning and we're going to be making some bacon and potato soup, some lovely wintry warming soup, and who doesn't need that after the weekend that we've had? So we're going to be making a wonderful hearty warming soup for you all this morning, and if we get time on there, which hopefully we will do, we'll get a chance to make some wonderful cheesy scone snacks to dip in and go with that soup too. So that's what we are doing today. Now, I did say, if you've been looking at online, you may have seen it through social media or through school. You've seen the recipes there already, but you might have seen when I posted those recipes, I did say you could make the cheesy scone bread that we're going to be doing today into a bowl for your soup. Now, how's that even possible? That's bizarre. Well, when we make our quick bread, what you can do is if you've got a heat-proof little bowl, and we'll come on to this a little bit later, so because I've had a few people questions already today, how we're going to do that. You get a little heat-proof bowl like one of these, like ramekins. You can actually make your scone bread over the top of one of these, put it onto the tray, flip it out and make a bowl to actually serve some of your hearty soup into. So that's a fun little way of doing it as a little extension to what we're doing today. But today is all about making this wonderful, warming, hearty soup. Other questions already this morning before we even start were, I'm vegan or vegetarian. What do I do about the bacon? Well, the few options there. You can either just leave the bacon completely out, which is fine, or you can go, I'm going with some something that isn't bacon. So I'm going with some fake and bacon, as you would. It's some fake bacon. So I'm going with that as a nod to sort of the veganuary side of things. We're going to be showing you all of the, or if you are a vegan, showing you all the different alternatives. And also if you've got any allergies and intolerances, we'll go through and tell you some of the alternative ingredients that you can use today as part of today's cooking lesson. Okay, our food preparation and nutrition lesson today. Fabulous. Any more questions before we begin? Let's have a look. Let's see. I think I've answered a few of those already. The soup bowl one which we'll come to later, answered there. We're also just having a look here. What other things have we got going on? Is it recorded? Yes, this whole thing is recorded both on YouTube. It's recorded for you so you can watch that one back. And for girls at Talkie Girls Grammar School, that's recorded back as well. Fabulous. I think that's a lot of questions before we even start this morning, which is great. I like a bit of interaction. So if you're at Talkie Girls Grammar School, obviously you've got the, you're on Teams. You can write down any of the comments, questions or queries down the side there. If you're watching us at home on YouTube, that's fantastic. Thank you for joining us at Talkie Girls Grammar School. Thank you for joining us at a beautiful sunny Devon this morning, wherever you are in the world. And you can just leave your comments just below the YouTube channel there as well. So either, I don't mind, but let's get some interaction with you. So let's have a look. We've got nearly everybody's arrived in my class this morning. Let's have a look. Yep, lots of you there in class this morning. Fabulous. Like to see that one. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'd love to know where you're watching this from. If you're watching this on classes, I know we had classes from Loughborough to Leicester, all over the place, and one from Brazil last week, which was amazing. So if you're watching, we'd love to know from Talkie Girls Grammar School where you're watching our lesson this morning as well. Okay, I think we're nearly ready to begin. And we're going to be working through the recipes, step-by-step recipes on the board here. You should also have had those recipes. If you're at school, you've had those ones through the school system, through Teams. If you're on YouTube, you probably picked that up from either below the feed, there's ingredients and equipment, or you may have picked up from social media, the recipe cards there as well. Right, we're using a presentation for the eagle-eyed of you. You've noticed that this is a Hodder Education Dynamic Package. Thank you to Hodder for that one. This is what we use to present our slides with at school. It's a fantastic program. We're going to be using that one today. Right, let's go into this. But before we start to cook, it's really, really important we play it safe. So before we start to cook, a few things just to mention. Kitchens are inherently dangerous. They have got risks involved in them. So please can you make sure if you're cooking at home today that you have got an adult with you, you have got permission to be cooking and it's safe to cook, and you've got an adult supervision there as well to help you out and lend a hand today, because we want everyone to be as safe as they can. We don't want anyone to be hurting themselves. I will go through it obviously step by step, everything we do today, and take you on a little lead through that one. But if you can just be aware that you've got someone to help you, that would be fantastic. Lend a hand. Let's cook together during lockdown. Let's do family cook together. Okay. Some more disclaimers on the bottom of the YouTube terms and conditions there about it as well. All right, let's get going then. Before we start, like I say, we've got to be thinking about playing it safe, and that's about preparing yourself, preparing the area that you work in, and preparing all the ingredients and equipment we're going to need. And that's called something, and that's called what we call mise en place, which is a French word to mean to put everything in place. So we are going to do that together, and we're going to put everything in place. But before we begin, let's just go through the learning objectives for today. I'm going to be going through everything step by step on the board here. And these are your learning objectives for today. Your learning objectives for today. Oh, sorry, let's go through that. There we go. Learning objectives for today. Make a vegetable soup. So very simply, today we're going to be making a wonderful, hearty vegetable soup. So you're going to be making that vegetable soup. You're going to be using a sharp knife. So we're going to be talking about different knives today. So we're going to be recapping your knife skills. So we've got a variety of different types of knives that we're going to be talking about today, and how you use those ones as well. We've got all sorts of knives, like a butter knife, sharp knives. We'll talk about knives. You're going to be demonstrating your knife skills and some vegetable preparation. Oh yes, obviously we've got some vegetables with us this morning. Different types of vegetables. We'll be looking at vegetable preparation. And you're going to be using the hob safely. Absolutely. We're going to be using the hob a lot today. So we're going to be using some pans, and we're going to be using the hob safely to simmer off our soup and to boil and simmer. We're going to be looking at boiling and simmering for you there. Okay. I think we're nearly ready to begin. Let's have a look at, we've said what we need, the learning objectives are. Let's have a look about getting ourselves ready. Now, we need to get ourselves ready. So to get ourselves ready to start the lesson, we need to be thinking, you need to get yourself ready, your area ready, and collecting your equipment and ingredients to make sure everything is ready and organized before we begin. I'm going to give you some time to do this one, and I'm going to talk you through the alternative ingredients that you might have available to you. We're in a lockdown larder situation, so I appreciate that it's going to be harder to get hold of some ingredients than others. So don't worry, but we'll show you some alternatives if you haven't got those. So how do we remember how to get ready? We use these little letters here, H-A-T-T-I-E, which spells hearty. And what does that stand for? Well, hearty stands for, hearty stands for this. The first one, tie your hair back. If you've got long hair, longer than your shoulders, I'm losing my hair, so I don't need to worry. But if you've got long hair, make sure you're tying that hair back. And I know that might seem a bit weird if you're in your own kitchen and you're about to start cooking, but we don't want any what we call contamination. We don't want any of your hair to get into that food. That would just be disgusting. So what I want you to do is I want to make sure you've got your hair tied back. The other one to do with H is hands. Hands. Ever so important at this time, obviously, that we're in, to make sure your hands are washed all the time. But even more so before you start to cook and prepare food. It's really, really important again. And this is this contamination. We don't want contamination involved in our food. That's just not right. Okay, then the next one, again, all about the same sort of thing about getting ourselves ready. You're going to need one of these. You're going to need an apron of sorts. Okay, so you're going to need something to be wearing on. And I'm going to wear twos today. I'm going to be wearing my apron and my whites today, whites jacket, to cover myself up and to protect and to stop this contamination thing we talked about and making our food icky. Right, so that's the H-A, and then the T-T-I-E. So T, we need to make sure that our tabletop is nice and clean. And again, important during these times that we're in to make sure that cleaning all the time. So my tabletop is nice and clean. I've lifted up my tabletop working area. There we go. You need to make sure yours is too. How do you do that one? Well, some hot soapy water, maybe some antibacterial spray, some sanitizing spray, just to clean off and make sure your area is really clean before we start to cook for you. Okay. Next one is another T, and that's a tray. Now, it's really good to keep all your equipment and ingredients organized. So a tray really helps you out here. So a tray, if you've got one, or something you can hold all your ingredients and equipment on. Maybe you're working on the dining room table, maybe you're working on the kitchen sideboard, or but wherever you're working, let's try and keep our area organized, and that's one way of being able to do that. Okay, the next one is I. I is for ingredients, and we're going to be going through all the ingredients with you so you can have a look at those and get those ready for you. and E is for equipment. Okay, so that is what we call hearty. That's what we call mise en place. Mise en place, preparation part of what we do before we start to cook. And it's the same for every year, for every lesson before we begin. And this is, like I say, is all about playing it safe in the kitchen. All right, I think we've done that enough. Let's get started then. So I say I'm going to talk you through absolutely everything, including me and what I do to get ready as well. So I'm going to go over now to my kitchen sink, and I'm going to go over to the kitchen sink, and I'm going to go and wash my hands at the kitchen sink now. So let me move the cameras around, and let's do that one for you now. I'll take my apron with me. So I'm just going to move the cameras around, and let's move the camera around there so you can see. Move you around my kitchen there. Okay, so you can now see that one. I'm going to take my camera over there. You'll see me there. Yes, you can. And I'm just going to take this camera over with me so you can see me as well at home. There we go. Just going to move you over to my sink. Right, so let's get our hands washed. Put that over there. Hands washed. So you need to get yourself some hot soapy water and some, you're going to need some soap for that. So here I've got my soap. I'm just going to get the soap there. We're going to just rub our hands together. Now, you know how to do this one. It's been a lot in the news, but just can you make sure you rub your hands together? And once you've rubbed your hands together, you need to do the back of your hands. Don't forget that in between the back of those fingers. You need to do round your thumbs, both hands, going around your thumbs like that. Okay, you need to make sure you do your wrists as well. So we've got lots of soap all over our hands. Then you need some hot soapy water. So I'm just going to be putting some hot soapy water there. So hot water and soap, hot soapy water. Again, rub your hands together. Do the back of your hands, thumbs, both thumbs, wrists. Really making sure we're washing those hands absolutely thoroughly. Perfect. Now, you know how long this needs to be. It's a lot of it's in. We know now, months we've been going on about this. You should be washing your hands for 20 seconds, okay? So that would be your happy birthday twice, okay? So if you sing that, birthday to you, birthday to you, birthday to you, and so on, you know the way that one works. So I'm just, now just to add to that, I'm going to also just double, I'm going to use some sanitizer there. So if you've got some of that, some hand gel, just to double that one up, make sure that's completely clean of my hands there. Right, okay, let's move back to my work area now. I've got my hands sanitized. I've got my hands washed and sanitized. So I'm just going to go back to my area, and let's go back over there. Okay, everybody, and we're back. There we go. Back to the screen. Oops, there we go. Right, fabulous. So now let's get on with everything here. We're now going to get ourselves ready with our apron. So here we have my apron there, and I've got my chef white. So can you now at home go, once you've washed your hands, go and get your apron on. I'm going to roll my sleeves up as well. Can you get your apron on as well? Get yourself prepared. Maybe you need to just go and run around and go and find yourself a hair tie just to tie that hair back. That would be great. And I'm just going to say, while you're doing that, I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to get my chef jacket on there, my chef white jacket on there. There we go, to make sure I'm completely covered. There we go. Just make sure you are wearing your aprons as well. And also we'll do everything step by step. And after this, what we'll do is we'll go through the list of equipment and ingredients that you might need. And we'll go through the alternatives that you might want if you haven't got an ingredient or equipment, because we're in a lockdown larder situation. We're at homes now. So we'll look at some alternatives, and maybe you've got some allergies or intolerances, and we can need to look at some alternative ingredients for that reason as well. So we'll go through those with you. Got my apron and my jacket on. I've got my Food Teachers Centre, fabulous association of food teachers across the country, the forum for discussion for all food teachers. There we go. Let's put that one on there as well this morning. Fabulous. So we are nearly ready to cook, everybody. And we now need to go through the equipment and ingredients. So let's do that one together. So let me just get that one up on the board for you, and we'll do it again up on the board behind me, step by step, so you can all get your kitchens ready. We'll start with ingredients. So we've got the ingredients there up on the board, like I say, and I'll just go through those ingredients with you as well. So the first ingredient you're going to need is an onion. Now I've got my onion there, big old onion, big round onion there. If you haven't got onions at home, that's going to be okay, because what you can do if you've got like you might have frozen onions, you might have a already chopped onions. That's okay. But I'm going to show you how to chop up the onion anyway. Safely chop an onion, and we're going to go back over that with our knives and how to do that one safely. But an onion would be fabulous. Next one, potatoes. So I've got some potatoes. I've actually got quite a large one. You only need a couple of medium ones, but you see my potatoes there? Now you might not be able to get any fresh potatoes, so you might be using some tinned potatoes. And tinned potatoes are going to work with this one, so absolutely fine. If you're going to use like a large can of tinned potatoes, we've got one just here. Let me just grab that one. There we go. So you might be wanting to use one of these. There we go, just a tin of new potatoes. So you can use one of those instead if you can't get hold of fresh potatoes. So don't worry on that if you're struggling with getting hold of that ingredient too. Okay, next one. Let's look at, we said carrots. Okay, so again, we can go with fresh carrots. If you've got fresh carrots, fabulous. If you haven't got fresh carrots there, then again, don't worry, we can go with tinned. And in fact, you can go with frozen again on this one if you wanted to. Just to make sure they're defrosted beforehand. Leave them to the side to defrost, or, you know, you're going to be getting them defrosted before we can actually start, because it's going to be very hard to actually make the soup up on that one. Then we've got this one. Oh, this is an interesting one. We haven't used this one for a while. And this is another one to beautiful food, celery. So we've got some celery here. We're going to use a couple of sticks of this celery, so you can have that one in your food as well. Lots of vegetables here. And now we're going to be moving on. We've got a few other bits and pieces, some butter or some bacon fat. Now, again, when I'm thinking about vegan and vegetarian, you might be using a dairy alternative. So we have got some butter fat there for us to use, but we're also going to be got some, what I'm going to be trying to use today will be some vegan alternatives. So we've got 100% plant-based there. That will work just as well for this one. So you can use plant-based or dairy. I don't mind on that one. I'm going to be using plant-based for me, because we're going to be, say, trying to do a nod here to the whole veganuary side of things. Let me just move that one over there, click that one back in place, sorry. There we go. So that's where the butter and bacon. Now, rashers of bacon was the next one for our bacon and cheese and potato soup. Might seem an odd one to go into a soup. Bear with me, it really does work, and it adds some real nice depth of flavour to it. But like I said earlier, you don't have to worry about using real bacon. You can use fake bacon, and we're going to be using some of that today. We're using some alternative bacons this morning. So we're going to be using meat alternative, so meat alternative, protein alternative for our bacon. So, or you can leave it out entirely. It's entirely up to you. Leave it out entirely if you want to. We've got some milk. So again, we've got your dairy milk. You can use your dairy milk, which is absolutely fabulous. Or if you want to use an alternative, which is just as delicious and one of my favourites, we've got some oat milk there as well. So you can use an oat milk dairy alternative there as an oat drink, rather than oat milk, oat drink, which is really, really nice and goes very well with this one. Or if you've got an almond, so you can use that as well, but I'm going to be going with an oat one for me today, because we've got a really creamy finish to it as well. Then cheese, lots of ingredients today. So we can use your standard dairy cheese, which I've got some cheese there. You can use that one, but you can also, again, which I'm going to be using today, is we are going to be using some alternative, dairy alternative there. You can see that one on the board there. This is a block of... It looks like it. So instead of a dairy in there, you've got a dairy milk, you've got a coconut, and it's got added vitamins in there. So it's a flavoured block instead of cheese, but a veganuary alternative or a vegan alternative, a non-dairy one. So lots of different alternatives you can do there. Okay, I've got our hands up there. Do you want to leave a message in the comments there? If you want to just say something there, if you want to just quickly type that in the comments. What would you like to know? Questions or queries? I've got one hands up there on the board from the class. If you just want to type in what that question is, and I'll answer that one for you straight away. Next one, we've got a little pinch of salt and some salt and pepper. There we go. So I've got my salt and pepper there, ready to go with that one. And we can put that one in there. Now, for the scones or scones, we can use a flour, so self-raising flour for that one. So I've got some self-raising flour there, but you might be gluten intolerant, celiac. So in which case you could use a gluten-free flour, which would work absolutely perfectly well with this one as well. You might want to look at it, if you wanted to, you can always put a little something like a xanthan gum in there as well, if you're using a gluten-free flour, just to add a little bit more protein in there and give it a bit more stretch. Cheese again, or cheese alternative, and salt and pepper again on that one. So hopefully that all makes sense for you there as well. Right, so we've got that there. I'm just going to see if we've got any more questions going down there from the class. Looks like we've got a couple of questions coming in. So let me just answer those couple of questions. Okay. Yep, sound's on. It seems to be all good. My sound is on. Someone can't hear me. My sound is on. Can you give me a thumbs up that you can hear me, whether it's on YouTube or on Teams there at Talkie Girls Grammar? A couple of people say they can't hear me this morning. Just want to write in the comments that you can hear me. That would be good. Yep. Okay, a couple of people. I have frozen mixed veg. Is this going to be okay? Yep, that will be absolutely fine. You can't hear me. Still can't hear me. Let's have a look there. We can hear me. Yep. So you can hear me on YouTube. So you might want to pop over to YouTube if you're having struggling with Teams there. Let's see if anyone else has got any issues there. The meeting is being recorded. Yep. Can you hear me all okay? They can hear me. Looks like you can hear me there. You can. Well done. So you can hear me there. Just a couple of people having issues with their own systems, not being able to hear me. If you can't, like I say, just let me know. I'm just going to type it in here. Yep, looks like it can. Fabulous. Okay, I'm now going to carry on with the equipment then. So yep, good. You can hear me on YouTube and you can hear me on there we go, fabulous, and you can hear me on Teams. Right, next one. Let's go through and do all of the equipment. So I'm going to move on to equipment next. There we go. And then we'll get started. So equipment up on the board there. You can see we'll get started with your bacon and potato soup with cheesy scones. Right, so let's get on with the equipment. So you're going to need knives. So different sorts of knives are going to be required for today. Let's go through with the different sorts of knives you're going to need. I would suggest you use the smaller of your sharp knives. And this is what we call a paring knife. I will be demonstrating with a larger one, which we call a chef's knife or a cook's knife. So I'm going to be demonstrating the larger one. I would like you to probably be safer to be using a smaller one like that. I'm going to be using to chop up. We're also going to be using a smaller butter knife as well to go with that one as well. So they're the sort of knives we're going to be using today. Let's go through the next one. A peeler. So we've got a little vegetable peeler. You might have a Y-shaped peeler or a long peeler like this one. Either will be absolutely fine. We've got a masher, which is already over by my saucepan, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, we're going to be using a potato masher because this is a year 7 lesson to mash it up. You could also use a food processor. You could use a blender if you've got an adult there to do that for you. But for year 7, I'm saying a potato masher will suffice. But if you've got a grown-up who's got a blender, that can speed the process up a little bit, or a hand blender, and we'll show you those when we come on to it. As well as a masher, chopping board, which I've just shown you already. A frying pan, which is over there already. Saucepans, and again, we've got saucepan over there, and wooden spoons, which are already ready to go. We say a blender would be a useful tool, but that would be for a grown-up to use, not for you. Butter knives we've talked about. Bowls, different types and sizes of bowls are going to be useful for today, and we'll talk you through those step by step as we go. And then it says a grater. Yep, for that cheese, the different types of cheeses, whichever type of cheese you're using, or a little bit of a cheese grater there will be going on. And then we've got some other things that we're going to be using for making our scones. So we have our sieve, our rolling pin. So we've got it all there. We have rolling pins ready to go for that one. We've got baking tray, pastry cutters. And so these are the sort of things that we might have at school, some sort of pastry cutters like that. But if you haven't got pastry cutters, then we can make do with, as an old tuna tin. Say we're in lockdown, so let's look at alternatives that you can use. And then again, a pastry brush, but you can use a clean paintbrush if you've got one of those instead. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So you're going to be using today for our equipment as well. So that's ingredients and equipment. Now, hopefully you've got all of that sorted out. Any questions about ingredients or equipment before we begin? Let's have a look. No, looks like everybody's okay there. Let's have a look here. Yeah, that seems to be working well. Good. No questions from school. Anything from YouTube? Any questions so far on equipment or ingredients or alternatives for your equipment or ingredients to make our bacon and potato soup and cheese scones? No? Good. Okay. Oops, sorry, 1 minute. Let me turn that one up. Okay. If you have any questions or comments, please, if you can put those ones down the side at school, that would be fabulous. Oh, questions there? No. If you can type those questions down the side, that would be fabulous. So I've got a question here from school. I'm just answering this one for you. No, that's fine. Okay, no, that's fine. Sorry, I'm just answering a couple of questions from school here. Yep. That's fine. All right. So let's carry on then. It looks like we've got all those answered, and we'll get going. Like I say, if you are having issues, I think a few people are having issues this morning with their computers. Let me just put that one on for you. If you're having issues with the Teams this morning, you can always come over to YouTube. But that's fine. Good. Let's move on. So we're now going to go on with the making. So we've what the next part is we're going to look at now is we're going to look at the recipe, step-by-step recipe for you all. And we're going to be going through this one and working out how to actually make this one. Now, the step-by-step recipes will be up here behind me, and I will talk you through and we'll work through that one individually. So don't worry if you're thinking, I don't know how to do this one. We're going to be going through the whole thing individually, okay? So each bit step-by-step as it is in the recipe cards behind me there on the board. So don't worry there. Don't worry yourself about not being able to work out what's going on. It'll all be on this recipe card behind me. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is our carrots and potatoes. So we have got our carrots and potatoes. So I'm working with some fresh ones here. But like I say, if you've got canned, you might have canned potatoes or canned carrots or frozen veg or frozen carrots. That's fine. Get them in a bowl ready to go. You're a few steps ahead of me. But for the rest of you, we're going to look at getting these peeled and diced. Okay, so let's talk about those. First thing we're going to do is we're going to peel our potatoes. So to do that one, we're going to use the peeler and we're going to very carefully peel away from our fingers and going to get all of that skin off. Now, please be careful. These are like tiny little knives, like two tiny little knives up on there. You can see that one. So they're sharp. They can cut you, and we don't want you to peel your fingers. We want you just to be peeling the potatoes. So we can do this one slowly. I'm just going to say, if you're just peeling away, you can see that one there, just peeling away all the way around the outside. If you've got canned potatoes, that's going to be fine because they're already peeled, or you might be using canned new potatoes, or you might even be, I've seen frozen diced potato, that's going to be fine, or I've seen frozen diced carrots as well, and that's going to be fine too. So I'm just, as you, I'm talking to you, I'm just peeling these ones away. Again, there's no rush on this one. It's better to get these done safely and slowly and make sure you've got all of that off, so with the skin off the potatoes and the carrots without actually cutting your fingers. So I'm just very slowly just going round my potato. Let me just show you on the screen there. You can see just very slowly just going round each of those. And there's no rush on this one. We don't want any chopped fingers. Just going to very slowly just peel away all of those pieces from my potato. Can you see there? So that's the potato. I've got peeled potato there, and that's the one after. That's the before, and that's the after there. And you just need to do that one slowly and methodically, each time going round your potato, and each time peeling it all off, going round that one. Maybe there's a bit of green on your potato. That's a good question. In which case, just cut that away, that part of it. Okay. Maybe you've got slightly older potatoes. So then you might need to chop off some bits that are not going to be useful to you on there. But we're just peeling away the potato there. I'm just doing it as I speak. So slowly does it. Do not worry about speeding through this one. We just want to, because they're, like I say, tiny little knives there. Each one's a tiny little knife, so we need to be very careful, just going round and round. And I know they're in like a shielded part, but they can still hurt us. So we just need to go through and round slowly, slowly together, chopping these, all the skin off, slicing all the skin off these, peeling our potatoes. Okay, so I'm just doing that with you as well. So we can do it in real time. The whole thing we're going to do live and in real time together. Now, while we're doing that one, we need to say, let's do that last little bit. I'm doing that one. We can do the potatoes. So it's both my potatoes now done. There, I've done both of those potatoes. They're both peeled. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same with my carrots. So I've got my carrot there. There's one of my carrots. And I'm just going to do exactly the same again. I'm going to just peel away from me. Can you see what I'm doing there? Just slowly, slowly, slowly peeling away all of the outside. There we go. Now I have washed these ones in advance. So if you haven't washed your vegetables in advance, just run them under the tap, take them to the sink, and get those washed off first. So they haven't got, maybe you're using fresh vegetables from the that you got from the garden earlier in the year. Maybe you picked them earlier in the year and you then froze them. So I know that we often do that at school. So we'll pick our carrots. So at school, we've got a wonderful, very, very lucky to have a wonderful big vegetable patch at school. We get some amazing big carrots. I mean, huge carrots. This is like one from I got from the shop, but we have the carrots that were that big at our school, huge carrots. So we washed them all down, and then we've frozen those ones so we can have them later in the year. So we don't let any of them just go to the ground. There we go. That's our carrot peeled. And so I'm going to do the whole thing in real time with you, because I don't want anyone to rush this one. But if you are watching this back on YouTube or on school through Teams, then obviously you can pause or fast forward this part while I just grate these ones, depending on how long it's taking you to go through and peel your carrots as well. Or I can and potatoes there. So I'm just showing what I'm doing there, doing it in real time with you. I'm just peeling my carrots down as well. I've got a couple of carrots, different size carrots. That's fine. We're going with two of each, two medium ones. Maybe you've got teeny tiny carrots, in which case you might need 3 or 4 of them. So maybe you're using canned carrots, in which case you just drain those canned carrots and put them in a bowl. Tinned potatoes, drain those off, put those in a bowl, and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so that's my carrots and potato now peeled, and what I'm left with is a huge amount. Let me show you on the board here. Let me move the camera down so you can see. I'm left here with a lot of peel. Let's search my peelings. Let's go down. So you can see on the board there, move my camera down there. I've got a lot of peelings there on the board there. I know we need to get rid of those ones, but I'm not going to obviously throw them away. We don't want to be throwing anything away like that. We want to be reusing those ones. So if you've got a compost bin, just clear your board. Let's clear the board up there. Make sure we got a nice clean area to work in. Just clear up all my peels as we go. We don't want a messy kitchen. We want a clean kitchen. There we go. What do they say in Ratatouille? Cleanliness is close to godliness is the start of Ratatouille. Fantastic Disney animation there. So I've cleaned all my of those. They're going to be going for composting. So we'll put those aside for composting later on, or maybe you can you've got a green bin for recycling those ones. We're now going to look at chopping these ones. So we're going to look at how we do that one. So for chopping these up, we're going to use a knife. Now we're going to use this knife here. This knife here is what we call a paring knife. Can you see that one on the board? Fabulous. So this one is a paring knife. It's a small, sharp knife, and it's got a very sharp side there. You see that one there? And then it's got a blunter side along the top there. Okay. You're going to be using one of these, and I'm going to show you how to use this ones with what we call the bridge and the claw. Now, a few bits of knife safety before we begin. You should only ever carry one knife at a time. Let me come back to myself 1 minute. We're going to be using, say, a bridge and a claw. I'm going to talk you through those ones. There we go. You're going to use one knife at a time, and you want to use a bridge and a claw. Let me move those cameras up to me. Zoom out a bit there. Okay, so knife safety. Before we begin, one knife at a time. Only ever carry one knife around to your work area at a time. And then when you're carrying it, can you make sure that the knife is pointing downwards? So the point is to the floor, the blade is to the back. So you carry it like you're almost like a soldier. So you'd be carrying it like that. Does that make sense? So you'll be carrying it like that beside you. Okay. Don't ever carry a knife pointing out like that, or like that, or like that, because if you were to fall or trip, then that's going to cause you some mischief there. So we don't want that to happen. Okay. So make sure you're doing that one. When you're cutting, always cut with the two steps that I'm going to show you in a moment. When you finish with the knife, or you're not using it, can you make sure you put the knife at the back of your area? So right in the middle of the table, not on the edge of the table where it's likely to fall off or hurt yourself or to poke yourself. So keep it in the middle of the table when you're not using it. Always chopping absolutely on a chopping board. So that's really important as well. That way things don't slide around and you're not going to end up with any more sort of mishaps there. When you finish with your knife, can you make sure when you wash your knife up, that when you're doing any washing up, it's the first thing you wash up. When you're washing it up, and we'll talk about this right at the very end, you don't let go of the knife. The knife stays in your hand. You use a brush to clean it off. Don't be tempted to use a dishcloth or a sponge to wipe it, because that could cut you. When you dry it, don't be tempted to use a tea towel to dry this one. Put this one at the very back of your draining board area or on your draining rack, and let it dry, because again, a tea towel could hurt yourself when you're using a tea towel as well. So put that one at the very back of your racks as well. All right. So that's a little bit of knife safety there, and we're now going to talk you through the easiest and quickest and safest ways to be cutting yourself so that you don't hurt yourself. Okay, and that involves this shape here. This shape here is we have talked about this before. Let's write it in comments and see as the first to write in comments what shape cut am I alluding to? What shape cut is this I'm giving you a hint for here? Let's see if anyone knows on Talkie Girls Grammar on Teams or on YouTube. Does anyone know what shape I'm making there? Let me give you a clue. If that was one of these, this might be like a train that goes through the middle of it, safely through the middle without actually cutting ourselves. What is that one, do you think? Anyone know? Anyone know? Let's have a look. Write it down there in comments. Does anyone know? Anyone know at all? Let's have a look. Anyone know? Okay, it is a bridge. Yes, so this is a bridge. So what we've got here is a bridge, and this acts like a train that goes through that bridge. Just there we go. It's going through that bridge just there. So that you've got your thumb and your forefinger. It's holding the food. So let's get my potato there. Let's put it in there, and that forms a bridge space. Now that bridge space is a lovely, conveniently, it allows my knife to go through the middle to make some train tracks, I suppose. One there, one there. That's me to cut through without going too close to my fingers. Now, if you're worried about that and you're a bit concerned about it, please don't worry, because I have got an instant bridge maker. Here is my instant bridge maker. Can you see that one? My instant bridge maker has got 1, 2, 3 bridges already on there. So you can put your bridge maker, otherwise known as a fork, into your food. There we go. Can you see that there? And that's made my bridges there in my food. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to get my knife, and as I would do with my fingers, I can put the knife through the middle of those bridges. Can you see that? It's literally going through the middle, and I can slice down through vegetables there, and it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm making it, but I'm using it like a fork, using those bridges that are formed there. Okay, so we're going to do that one together. Any food that's not long and thin already, we always go with a bridge. Now, how do you remember that the bridge is first? Well, A, B, C. A is the actions with the knife, the safe actions with the knife, which we've already been through. B is for bridge. So the first cut we're going to do on any food that's not long and thin, like this potato, is going to be a bridge. So let me show you that one on the board. Let's do this one together. Let's move my cameras down so you can see what I'm doing there. So I'm just going to move that one down, and let's zoom in. There we go. So we've got our potato there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to form a bridge. So there's my thumb and forefinger forming a bridge. And I'm going to slice down as many as I can, as close as I feel safe to going to my fingers. So I'm going to go down there. And I'm just going to slice down all the way to the bottom. But to show you, I'm going to use a bigger knife so you can see what I'm doing. Let's move back a little bit. I'm just going to go through the middle in there. And can you see I'm just going through all the way to the bottom. Oops, it's a bit tough, that one. There we go. Just going to go through again, through that bridge. Okay, and I'm just going to go through that bridge again. All right. Now you can see now that the potato has been cut with lots of lines going down, lots of lines going through that bridge. Okay. So we'll lie those flat on the board, those individual pieces of potato. And they're not long and thin yet. So because they're not long and thin, we are going to make them long and thin. So I'm going to go with a bridge again. You see what I'm doing there? So I've got a bridge, and I'm going to cut through and make some lines. Railway tracks. There we go. Now, can you see now? I've now got them long and thin. So I'm going to put those ones to the side. Let's go and get another one. Let's try and make this one long and thin. With my bridge, thumb and forefinger around. This is now long and thin. Let's do the same with this one. They look a bit like chips now, don't they? Big chunky chips. And in fact, you could make your chips at this point that way. Let's do the next one. Just going to slice down there like chunky chips. There we go, through a bridge. Next one. Just going to do, this is quite a chunky one, this one. Very much, almost like wedges, this one. And there I have my potatoes all cut into nice, long, like chips, nice, long and thin now. Can you see all that? They're all broken up. Let's move them around so you can all see those ones. Nice, long and thin on my board. All long and thin. Perfect. Now they're nice, long and thin. Look at that, there's lots of them there. Now they're nice, long and thin, we can go on to the next cut. So let me just zoom out. You can see me. Hello again. Right, so after we've done a bridge, the next one to do is a claw. Okay, so A, B, C. A is for bridge, is for action with a knife. Let's do this one here. A. Can you see that one on the board? There we go. There we go. A. Action And that's the safe action. B is for bridge. And C is for claw. Okay, A, B, C. Very nice and easy to remember that one, about how you should be and how to do it. Now, the only thing to remember here is this is A, B, C for anything that is not round. Sorry, not long and thin, rather. So we go into bridge if it's not long and thin. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I'll explain a bit more in a moment. But let's go on to the claw. So claw. So we're going to be using a claw like this. Arr, arr. Can you all do that? So thumbs right back, fingers over the top. Can you all do that for me? Thumbs right back, finger over the top, and make a claw. Fabulous. Now you've made your claw, we're now going to use that to cut with. We're going to get our knives, and our knife, the blunt side of our knife, will come near to the edge of the claw, and we will cut away from our fingers. Always cut away from your fingers. We're going to cut away from our fingers. The only part of the knife that should be touching us, our knuckles, is the blunt side of our knives. Not the sharp side, because that's going to hurt, but the blunt side. So blunt side, not the sharp side, but blunt side. And we just rest on the end of our knuckles and we cut away. Now, it's really important that you keep your thumb in there, because if you otherwise, when you cut away, you're going to slice the end of your thumb off. So thumbs right back, fingers over the top, and we're going to cut away from this one. So let me show you how that works on the food. We're going to get something that's already long and thin. Zoom out a little bit. There we go. Oops. There we go. So we zoom in there so you can see there. So what I've got here, let's choose one of these that's already long and thin, like that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut that one out using our claw. So we'll put thumbs right back inside there. Can you see that one? Thumbs right back, fingers over the top, and then I'm resting my claw on the top. Now with my knife, I'm now going to, using the blunt side, so the blunt side is right there. I'm going to put the blunt side against my fingers and I'm going to slice down that long one. I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to slice back. We go back a bit, slice back. Go back a bit, no fingers or thumbs near it, and go back. Okay, now these are little cuboids. Can you see that one there on the camera there? These are like the six-sided cuboids, and they're the sort of six-sided cuboids you might find when you are playing a game with dots on it. And these six-sided cuboids are what we might call what? What do you reckon? Let's have some feedback on Teams or on YouTube. What do we think these six-sided cuboids would look like? They look like, if they had dots on them, they'd look like, that's right, they'd look like dice. So this is our dice cut. So we've now diced our potato up. Now you can get different sized dices. Let's go back to me. You can get different sized dices. Different sized dices are we've got different names. So at GCSE, we'll call these brunoise or macédoine, brunoise, macédoine. It means that they're really, really small or slightly larger dice. And we do them the same way. We make them into like matchsticks or long lengths of food into our food. So it's long and straight first. And then we slice those ones up. So we go into like what we might call julienne or chardonnay, which is like another word for long strips, and then we cut them up into the squares, there's little dice parts, and then we call them either macédoine or brunoise. But we talk about that later on at GCSE. Okay, from your point of view, we now need to go through all of those long lengths, and we're just going to chop them up into the squares. Okay, we're going to be dicing up our potatoes. So I'm just doing this as we talk there. Just slowly go through and chop them all up. So you've got your diced potato ready to go. Now I've got my diced potato ready to go. Now I can say I've used a very large potato. I would say 2 medium potatoes. Because I've used a very large potato, I think I am going to be all right with just using one, looking at this actually. But if you've got two smaller ones, fabulous, that's going to work well. So I'm moving my camera down so you can see what I'm doing there as well. Let me have a look. Move my camera down so you can see there. What I've done is my potato. So there's my potato as it was. What I've done is using my knife, I've done a bridge and a claw. Let me show you at home on YouTube. There we go. So you can see there on the board there. There's my potato. Before and after, I made it into those long strips using my bridge. And then I used my claw, thumb right back, finger over the top, used my claw, and then I chopped the other way and made them into my diced potato. So here's my diced potato ready for my soup. Okay, there we go. You can all see that one on the board there. Fabulous. Diced potato from the potato into ready for my soup. I might do a little bit more of my other potato as well. I'm going to be doing that one. Okay, just 1 minute. Let's get that one. So I'm going to do again, bridge. Just go through that with you again. There we go. And we're bridging that one. And now we're going to bridge it again, so they're long and thin. Just talk you through step by step what we're doing here, so you can do that one. And we're going to chop the other way, so claw the other way. So we bridge, 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 and then claw the other way. Lots of potato there. Bridge, and then claw the other way. Bridge, and then claw the other way. And final one of my two potatoes, bridge, and then we're going to claw it the other way. Right, so now we've got two potatoes all cut using bridge and claw. Okay, back to me. Okay, thank you very much. There we go. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So you can see there we've done our potatoes all chopped up. Now the next one is our carrots. Now our carrots are nearly ready to go with this one. Is this carrot long and thin already? Is this carrot long and thin already? If this carrot is long and thin already, what does that mean we can go into? Do we start with a bridge or do we start with a claw? Do we start with a bridge or do we start with a claw? What do you think? You're right. We can actually start straight away with this one and we can go straight into a claw. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm literally going to go straight into doing a claw. No need to do a bridge because the carrot is already long and thin. So we're going to go straight in with the claw with this one. So I'm going to just show you there on the camera. Let's have a look. Okay, there we go. You can see there's my carrot. It's already long and thin. So let's move this potato out of the way. Oh, let's move that camera down so you can see as well. Move both these cameras down. Okay, so you can see there that's already long and thin. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take the end of my carrot, but you see what I'm doing? Claw, thumb right back, fingers over the top. Take the end of our carrot off. Okay, this has already been peeled. So I'm now going to go with my thumb right back, finger over the top. And because it's already long and thin, I'm going to chop these up like that. And I'm going to just go blunt side of the knife is close. I'm cutting away from my fingers. I'm just going to go slightly, really small. Down. Now, you might already have them come out of a can that look already like this, or maybe yours have been frozen and yours already look like this from frozen, and that's fine. There we go. Just last bit. Don't go all the way close to your fingers. So I'm going to actually put that last piece in the compost along with all my compost pieces. All right. So I've now got one carrot done. Let's do the same again with the other carrot so you can see what's going on there. Okay, so we've got another carrot here. So it's already long and thin already. So we can go straight into the claw, thumb right back, finger over the top. We'll take the end off which I'll then go put that in with the composting. And I'm now just going to be going back slowly. Here we go. Going back slowly, a little bit at a time. There we go. Just going back and chopping through, making sure that thumb is right back there, right back. And here we go, slicing away. And again, this bit's too close to my fingers, and I'm going to be putting that in the compost now. And remember, if you're not using a knife, the knife goes into the center of your table area, so away from everything else. Okay, right. That is my carrots and potato done. Now, it's taken a long time to do the first bit, and I know that's taken a long time, but it's important that we get our knife cutting skills ready for your year 7s, and we're doing it properly, okay? So we make sure that we're not rushing this one. There's no rush. It's better that we get this. We've got a whole 2 hours, so it's better that we get this first bit right. The next bit is a bit relaxing, really. Once we just let it to simmer and boil, and we're going to be talking about using the hob, this bit, next bit, is kind of a little bit more relaxing. But that first bit, a lot of concentration, because we've got knives here. We were using different sorts of knives, and we were using something that's got sharp pieces like a knife there. We're using a peeler. So it's important that we use those correctly, and we do that properly. Okay, so that's all of that chopped up. Now, next thing we're going to do is our onion and our celery and our bacon. So I'm just going to move all of these to the side for a minute. Let's clear my board again. So I'm just going to put all of those carrots and potato into a bowl. Let's get all of those into a bowl off my work area, so I can keep my work area nice and clean at all times, and you should be too, because if you've got a clean chopping board, it's a safe chopping board, okay? We don't want lots of things crowding your work area. So there's all my carrot and potato. Can you see all that in there? That's fabulous. That's all my carrot and potato in my bowl. Now let's go on to my next step. I'm going to be using my celery. So here's my celery. I'm going to be using the celery, and I'm going to be using the onion as well. So let's just find my onion. There it is. There's my onion. So my onion and my celery, the next one. Now, similar to the potato and the carrot, can you see one is very round and one's already long and thin? So this first one we're going to do, this onion, is very round. So we're going to need to go through A, B, C. Let's keep our knives. Our knives are quite correctly placed at the middle of my table here, not near the edge of my table. So I thought about the actions with my knife. I thought about which knife I'm going to use. I'm going to try with my paring knife, the little vegetable cutting knife there, the fruit vegetable cutting knife. But for you, I will actually use a slightly larger knife so you can see what I'm doing, which is my chef's or cook's knife. And I'm going to be chopping this one up, but I'm going to use the same principle. Actions, first of all, I've chosen the right knife and I'm using it correctly. The next one I'm going to be using is a bridge. So we're going to be cutting between there. And again, if you want to, you can always use a fork if you're feeling unsure. And if you want to do a claw, you can use a fork as a claw as well. So you can actually use the fork as the claw and slice away like that. So if you felt unsafe, a little bit unsafe or a bit unsure about doing that one with a claw with your fingers, you can always use the fork as a claw as well. So that fork doubles up as both a bridge and a claw. So if you don't want to use your hands, so close to your hands, you can do it that way. Right, let's go on with our onion. Now the onion's a little bit more difficult because we have to do 2 lots of ABC here, rather than just the one that we did with our potato. Let me explain with you how we do it. And we're going to put our knives down in the middle. So let's do the first bit. The first bit, we hold our onion right the way around the middle like that, and we're going to cut straight the way through the middle, once through the middle. Now I'm not holding onto the top or the bottom here. I'm holding it round the center. Can you see what I'm doing that? And that's formed an archway. That's formed my bridge to my archway just there. And by putting my thumb and finger around the outside there. Okay, that's my bridge. Now, the first cut I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this onion directly through the middle. So I'm going to draw a little onion down here. Here's my onion on the board there. And the first cut I'm going to do is going to go straight down the middle. Okay, that's my cut number 1, which is the bridge. Okay, let's do that one together. Onion, let's move it down onto the board so you can see what I'm doing. And let's get that one zoomed in. Okay, so you can see now, this is my onion. I'm forming my bridge. I'm going to do 1 cut straight down the middle. I have one bridge cut straight down the middle. Now, again, if you're unsure about this one and you don't feel happy to be putting your fingers either side, then what you can do is you can put your fork straight into the middle of it, and you can cut through the middle of a fork instead. And we're going to go straight down to the middle of our onion, all the way down. You see that? What I've done now is I've now got 2 halves to my onion. I'm going to put those 2 halves flat down onto the work surface. That is my bridge cut, first of all. After my bridge cut, I'm going to do a claw. 1 claw for each piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my thumb right back, my fingers at the top, and I'm going to use the top, not the rooty ends, not these bits here, not that, no, not that. We're going to chop the top there, and we're going to be chopping the top and just chopping the top off. Hopefully you can see that one just there. I'm just going to, with my thumb and forefinger, just going to take the top off. Now it's going to be, might be slippy, slidey, so take some paper off if it is. Just going to slice the top off. Okay, I'm just going to show you on the other one as well. Oh, it's a little bit slippery inside. Let's take some paper off. Thumb right back. Make sure that thumb's right back. We don't want to be chopped off. There we go. Claw. Let me just show you that one on the board. There's my onion on the board. You see my onion on the board there. So we've done the bridge, 1 cut bridge. The next cut, number 2, is the claw. It's gone the other way. 1 down, 2 across. Bridge and claw. Okay, let's go back to that onion now. We can put our knives down safely, and before we start our next bridges and claws. So let's go back to there and zoom in. Okay, you can have a look on there. I'll move the other camera down so you can see what I'm doing there. So what I've got here is I've now got my 2 onion parts, and I've got my 2 tops that I've taken off. Let's get rid of those. I'm going to compost both of those. And we've got now our 2 bits of onion. So what are we going to do now? With our knives down, what we're going to do is we're going to peel back the skin of the onions while the onions are still flat on our boards. Now, why are we not lifting our onions off, and why are we not doing that? Well, because there is something at the base of our onion, by the root, that area there is going to make us cry. It's got, here we go, it's got something in the bottom there that when it reacts with the air, it forms a mild irritant, like an acid gas that's going to be irritating our eyes. So we want to keep it flat down on the table. I'm just going to pull these back now. Pull back all the skin. Now, I'm not going to put it right off the feet, not right off the base of our onions, because again, we don't want to cry. So we're going to try and keep the base of our onion intact, and we're going to chop the rest of this onion up, the top parts of our onion, but not the base. Okay, we're not doing the bases. If it comes off, don't worry about it, but we're going to try and just keep to the base, to cut in the top parts of our onion. Okay, there we have our onion, and what has exposed is it's exposed the next cutting line. If you look at that very closely, if I hold that up to the camera, just move that around on the camera there, hopefully you can see that there are some lines running down here, which are the next cutting line. Okay, same on the other one as well. You can just about see the ends actually come off that one. Don't worry, clean the sides down, clean the work surface. You can see those lines. I'm going to use that one. Okay, time to pick up our knives. I'm choosing my correct knife. I've put it in the correct place. Action work, first of all. Now I'm going to do the cutting. So I'm going to start after an A with a B, because it's not long and thin at the moment, is it? That's not long and thin. That's just a normal onion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do with the bridge. So there's my thumb and finger. Or again, if you're worried, you can always use your bridges here. 1, 2, 3, move it around. We're going to try and cut down as many of those lines as possible, but we are not going to go to the end. I'm going to put my, okay, we're not going to go towards the end. We don't want to go near that part. We're going to go down about 3/4 of the way. We don't want to go, we're not going to go towards that bit. We're not doing that bit. All right, let's go down. So bridging, I'm going to cut down as many of those as possible. Here we go. Between my fingers, not on my fingers, nowhere near my fingers and thumb. I'm just cutting down at the middle. Now I'm not going down all the way. I'm going down about 3/4 of the way because I don't want to go around to the root where the bit stuff is that makes me cry. I'm not going all the way down to this bit here. I'm just going around to the top. Now after a bridge, I'm going to put thumb right back, finger over the top. I'm going to do a claw the other way. You see what's happened? We've got more of that dicing cut. So I start to cut through the other way. And again, I'm not going to go right to the base because I don't want to cry. So I'm just going to cut through those. There we go. Lovely diced onion. Now this part, this base, we're going to compost. You can actually, might want to soak it in some water and grow a new onion. But we're going to just compost that off for today so we can create some more nutritious soil to grow more vegetables in. I'm going to show you the same again for the other one. So bridge, cut down, but not all the way to the base. And I'm going to cut down as many of those lines as I can think of. No rush, just go down as many of those as you can think of. Then I'm going to put my thumb and finger the other way, and I'm going to slice the other way across. Okay, bridge and claw, bridge and claw. Okay, there is my, think about your knife at the end of your work area, not where it's going to hurt you, okay? Put that in the compost. All right, you have now all done an onion. So let me just go recap that on the board there. So we did 1, we did 2. Then we got your onion. We got all the skin off, so hopefully you can see that one on the board there. Let's move that one around so you can see. Once we did that, we got our onion without a top on, with all the paper off, and we then went 3, there we go, we did 3, which was a bridge, and that was your bridge. Oops. Right on there. And then we did 4, which was your claw. Now 4, which is the final one, we went the other way. On both occasions, we didn't go anywhere near the base. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Well done, everybody. You've done really, really well. And again, I know there's a lot of time spent on the first couple of parts of this recipe, but it's so much more important that we get the cutting skills right and you don't hurt yourself when you're cutting, okay? And obviously, this is why I said at the beginning, you need to make sure you're supervised. It's safe to do so. You've got permission and you are being supervised by an adult to be able to carry on and do this well. All right, let's move on to the next steps. We have another piece of vegetable. Oh, by the way, how many fruit and veg should you be having a day? Anyone remember how many fruit and veg you should be having a day? Anyone? Well, you got it right. It's 5 a day. How many have we chopped up so far? We've done our carrots. We've done our potatoes. We've done our onion. Okay. We are now going to do our celery. 4 of you 5 a day already in this one. Here's our celery. We're going to be doing 2 sticks of this. Here's my 2 sticks. Just peeled off 2 sticks of celery there. Ooh, question. Long and thin. Do we start with a bridge or a claw? Bridge or a claw? What do we think? Long and thin, bridge and claw. Have a think. You're right. It is going to be straight into a claw because it's already long and thin. So a bit like we did with the carrot, we're going to go straight into the claw. So I'm just going to move my camera down so you can see what I'm doing there. Let's have a look. Zoom in. There we go. So I've got my celery. Let me move my onion to the side. I'll put my onion to the side there. put that in another bowl. With not in with the onion. I'm not going to put that in with the potato and the carrots. I'm going to put that in a separate bowl. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. Clean my board down. So I'm not putting this in with the potatoes and carrots. I've got a separate bowl there for my onions. There's my space for my. Here's my space now for my celery. So my celery is already long and thin. So what I'm going to do with this one is, as we did with the carrots, I'm going to chop the end off with a bridge, thumb right back. Oops, carrot there. Thumb right back. You see there? There it goes. Fingers over top. I'm going to slice my way through this one. So that's the first bit off. I'm going to take that piece off and compost it. And now I'm going to go through nice and small. You see the only part that's coming close to my my finger there is actually the blunt side of my knife. So the blunt side is going nice, close to my finger, and I'm cutting away from it. There we go. Cutting away. And each time I'm just moving that celery a little bit further up. There we go. Okay, keep moving that back. Keep moving those ones. Okay, lots of lovely celery there. And now, I'm going to put this last bit, I'm going to just compost that away. Do the same again for the other one. So, starting at the top, with a claw, with our fingers back, I'm going to slice that top bit off, which we're going to compost. And then I'm just going to slice back. And we're doing this one in real time with you, hopefully. No need to do it speedily, just move it just each time. Slicing back with my claw, so it's nice and evenly cut. Good. Lots to remember today, lots to remember. Lots of amazing. You've been really good at remembering all this. There we go, celery. Now the celery is going to be going in with my onion. So I'm just going to push that in with my onion. Let's put it in with the onion. There we go. You can see that's the, there we go. It's my onion. I'm just going to be putting that in with my onion. Okay. So I've now got two bowls. I've got my celery and my onion, and I've got my potato and my carrot, all perfectly chopped up. Well done to you. These are looking really, really good. And look at the mixture of colour there as well. Always a good sign that you're getting a good mix of vitamins and minerals there if you're getting a good mix of colours. Okay, and you've got at least 4 of your 5 a day there. Now, one of your portion of your 5 a day is about a handful's worth of it. It makes about 1 of your 5 a day. Okay, maybe you've got it with tins. Maybe you've got it with, here we go. Back to me. So maybe you've done tinned, maybe you've done frozen, but you should be at the situation now where you've got celery and onion and potato and carrot. And we have nearly got all of our different ingredients prepped and ready to cook now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into step 3. And like I said, I know it's taken an hour, but it's much better to do it safely, methodically, and properly at this stage. And then, like I say, we can move on to the other areas. So what we're going to do now is, if you've got some bacon or some, like I say, some fake bacon, I've got some of this fake bacon here. We're going to be putting that all together. At step number 3, we're going to be frying off the onion and the celery and our fake bacon or real bacon if you've got that one. Frying that up, and we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of flour into this one as we fry it up. And then we're going to stir in 525 millilitres of milk. Okay, so let's get that one done. So the first thing we're going to do is we've got our onion and our celery. What I'm going to do is with mine is I'm just going to break up into there. There we go, let's zoom in. I'm just going to break up my bacon into that one. We zoom in, there we go. Just going to break that one up into the bowl. Little bits of bacon there, my fake and bacon. It's not real bacon, it's a meat alternative there. Just going to put that one in, break it all up. Yeah, you could use, someone said, could you use ham? You could use a ham with this one if you wanted to. That would work. but I'm just going to break that one up. So I'm using a meat alternative to this one. I'm just using some fake plant-based rashers of rasher shapes of bacon. It's not really bacon, but it's plant-based. So it's using a soya protein, and you've got flavoring in there, protein flavoring in there, all put together to what make a wonderful alternative. Should I put a bit more in there? Probably a bit more in there just to make it up. There we go. In that goes. Wonderful. That's all into there. Wonderful plant-based. Lots of plant-based in this today. That's ready to be going in there. The only thing I'm going to need to do with that one is I'm going to need some milk. So I'm just going to put some milk in there ready for me. I'm going to need 525 milliliters of milk with this one. So I'm just going to be pouring that one off now, and we're going to make 525 milliliters of milk. And now I'm going to be using my milk alternative, dairy alternative. It's an oat drink here, and I'm looking at getting into this one 525 milliliters. So that's quite a lot of milliliters of milk. I'm going to do it in two. There we are. So there we go. So that's about 2 glasses of milk. There's my first one. I'm going to do the same again. There you can see that one on there. 2 glasses like that of milk are going to go into this one. And I'm also going to need 2 tablespoons. That's the larger of our spoons. So we've got 2 spoons. We might have a teaspoon and a tablespoon. I'm going to use the larger one, a tablespoon there of flour. And I'm going to have that ready to go in there as well. So ready to put the flour and the milk. Come with me. We're going to go over to the hob now, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So let's move the cameras around. And I'm going to show you back to my kitchen. And we're just going to zoom in there. Okay. Zooming on the kitchen there, so you can see what we are doing. Fabulous. And let's move the other cameras around as well, so you can see what I'm doing there. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm now going to take my take all of my stuff over to there. So I've got my onions and my celery and my fake and bacon, which is there. I've got my milk as well. Which I'm going to bring over to my kitchen here. So here we go. I'm just going to bring that one over to my kitchen area. So I've got both of those ready to go into a large frying pan. There's my frying pan. I'm going to be putting that into there. You get some more milk, and we need the flour as well. So let me just go and grab that for you as well, so you can see that. So I've got my flour and the rest of my milk, dairy alternative. So I'm just going to take those back over to my area as well, so you can see what I'm doing there. Hopefully you can all see that one. Fabulous as you can. There we go. Move that one out of the way so you can see a bit better. Good. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to be going through and doing this one at my hob. And we'll talk about some hob safety as well when we're doing this one. There we go. You can see me all now. So here in my hob, so I've got my flour and I've got my milk, or dairy alternative milk, some oat milk there, oat drink. I'm going to put these into my frying pan. So let's move that to the side. And put those to my frying pan. In that's all going to go into my frying pan. Now I'm going to switch my heat on my frying pan. I'm going to use this hob. Okay, now the hob is hot. It's going to be hot. So switch that on. But remember, you are in charge of the heat. At all times, you're in charge of the heat. The heat is not in charge of you. Okay, just remember that you're always in charge. You, at any point, can remove the pan off the heat and switch the heat down at any point. Okay, so just make sure you're aware of that. So that can go onto the heat. Now, while my pan is on the heat, the handle is not poking out. I'm not going to be walking into the handle and whoa, knocking that over. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is the pan handle is sticking out. Here, we want to push that away, so I'm not going to be going into it. So I've moved the pan handle so there's no chance of me being able to knock into this at any point. So in there, I've got my onion, my celery, and my baked bacon or bacon you're putting into there. Now, because this is a non-stick pan, I'm going to need to use some wooden devices here. So I've got a wooden spatula, a wooden spoon, just to stir those around and move those around in the pan. There we go. That's just what we call sauteing. Okay, we're moving this around in the pan at all times. We're sauteing this, and what that means is we're softening. We're softening these off, ready for our soup. So we're just going to saute those off in there. They're just softening away. Now, if they start to spit or they start to brown, turn down your pan. Okay, we are just sauteing, which means we're just stirring this around to make sure they're soft. What you'll start to see is the onion will start to turn transparent, almost like tracing paper, as you start to soften these ones up. So I'm just softening all of that onion and celery in there. That's just softening off nicely. Okay, just stirring those through. Now, while they're stirring through, we need to have our milk and we need to have our flour ready to go. So we're going to be putting in a couple of tablespoons of flour into that. Remember, that's the larger of our spoons. So you've got 2 spoons, you've got a large spoon and a big small spoon, tablespoon, teaspoon. We're going to put a larger spoon's worth, 2 spoons of the flour is going to go into there. 2 level tablespoons. Smelling good already. Oh, I wish you could smell this one. It's smelling really good. There we go. That's in there. That's the flour in there. Let's stir that through. Just going to stir that through now. Oh yeah, that's nearly completely covered with all of my vegetables there. My onion, my celery, as well as the bacon that's in there, the bacon. Just going to keep that one baking away, just to keep that one for a minute. Now, while the heat's in there, I'm going to start to add my milk to this, or my dairy alternative, my oat drink into this one. So we need to be putting 500, over your 500 there, so you've got your different amounts, you've got your recipe there, you'll see from the recipe. We just quickly turn around the recipe there. So you can see on the board there, oh, no, we'll move it back in a minute, but 525 millilitres of it's going to go in with this one. So I'm just softening this one up still. Probably do a little bit longer softening before we can keep that one moving. On there. Okay, so I'm going to put my milk into there, my milk alternative. That's going into all. Now you can do this in a saucepan. You don't need to do this one into a large frying pan. If you haven't got a large frying pan, you can do the same in a saucepan. You can do the same again with the milk. And just make sure you've measured that one correctly. Yeah. Good. In that goes. Oh, I find that milk drink's actually a little bit creamier there than let's just stir that one up. Okay. Perfect. We're going to leave that one just for a minute. All right. So what we've got there now is there we go. So you've got on there, you've got the milk's gone in there, and we're going to simmer this and let this one just simmer away now and leave this one to go as it would be. And we're going to work on my carrot and potato. Let me grab the carrot and potato. Carrots, potato here, and the salt and pepper, and they're all going to come over to the area now, back over to the hob. So what I've got here is I've now got my carrots, my potatoes, I've got some salt and pepper here, and I'm going back over to the hob with that. I've also got a large saucepan with this one. Oh, I've got a saucepan over there already as well, which is good news. So in the large pan here, I've got I've fried off my onion, my celery, it's been softened up. I've got the flour in there, the milk in there, and that's simmering away. Now, what do I mean by simmering? Well, I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to get my carrots and potatoes. That's going to go into a pan. We're going to go with a larger pan, so I'm going to go with that larger pan. That's going to go onto the hob. Here we go. I'm going to put all of that into another pan. And all of that's going to go onto my hob. And in there, I'm going to use 140 millilitres of water. Okay, so let's just grab some water there. I'm going to use 140 millilitres of water. Here it goes. So I've got my water, half a glass of water. In that's going to go with my carrots and potato. Now, if you've got more carrots than potato, what we're looking to try to do is the water should just come up to the top level of the carrots and potato. So if you've got larger carrots and larger potatoes, you might need to add a little bit more water. I think I'm going to add a little bit more water for mine, just so it comes up to the top. There we go. Okay, now my carrots and potatoes have now completely covered with water. I'm going to switch the heat on that as well. Okay, carrots and potatoes are now soaking away. Been covered in water, just covered with water. On the frying pan, I've got my onion, celery, bacon if you've got it in there, and milk. Now both of these ones are now simmering. Now I said I told you about the difference between simmering and boiling. Simmering looks a bit like lemonade. Okay, so it's got all those little bubbles going around the outside all the way up the top. Okay, so that would be simmering. Tiny little bubbles around the outside, just coming up around the outside. But what I want you to be doing is we're going to be doing both simmering and boiling. Now boiling is like a bubble bath. So you've got all those big bubbles all over the top. We want to be looking at both those today, both simmering and boiling. What we're going to be careful of though is that when it does come to the top, none of that is going to splash at you. We don't want anything spitting or splashing at you, okay, because that would hurt. So it's important that we watch for these different things, simmering and boiling. Now what do we want? Let me just grab the rest of my ingredients there. We need to get these ones firstly up to a boil. Oops, there we go. So we've got, where are we? There it is. We need to get them firstly up to a boil, so that's up to a bubble bath, and then we reduce our heat down so we get to the simmer again, just like a lemonade. Okay? And we're going to be keeping these simmering for about 20 minutes, which is good. That's going to keep us going while we make our scone breads. Okay, so I'm going to then, they're going to be soft enough to then use a masher on the potatoes. Mash all those up really, really well. So they're just doing, in a moment, just give them a stir to my potatoes. Just coming up to the boil now. Then I can turn it to simmer. My milk with my onion, my celery, and my bacon has already come up to the boil. So I've just turned that down, turned the heat down now. So it's like simmering lemonade. The potato and the carrots hasn't quite got to the boil. It's just coming up to the boil. Once that comes to the boil, I will turn that down to a simmer for 20 minutes as well. So we'll just turn these ones down. Then it'll be soft enough to be able to use this, my potato masher, to be able to mash them right down to make my soup. Now, like I said, I did say you could use a blender. So I've got a blender here, and I'll show you how to use a blender. Or if you haven't got one of those, this is for grown-ups supervision only for a blender, because it's got a rotating sharp knife. And the same, if you've got one of these, I've got my Magimix here, which will do a similar sort of thing, but this is purely and simply for grown-up use. Okay, so get the grown-ups who are supervising you to use that. Because both the Magimix blender here and the hand blender have both got rotating sharp knives, and I do not want you using those in year 7. You can use the potato masher if you're safe, and I'll show you how to use that one. That's absolutely fine. But before we can use that, we need to make sure your vegetables are soft, and that requires getting to a boiling and then reducing to a simmering. So let's have a look. Like I say, my frying pan with my onion and celery has boiled and is now simmering. My carrots and potato are just coming up to the boil now. There we go, they're boiling now. And I can now turn those down to a simmer. Perfect. Make sure pan handles are off to the sides while we're leaving these to simmer. and make sure you just keep going back to check them. All right, I'm going to leave those there. We're going to go on to the next part. We leave those for about 20 minutes. Put the timer on there. Let's put those on, and we will come back to those. Brilliant. The next bit, like I say, this is really good from my point of view. Now we can now get on and do some other exciting bits and pieces. Okay. We can get on to some other exciting bits and pieces of the recipe. I'll just talk you where we're up to with the recipe. There we go, back to me. All right, so if you look at the recipe now, simmering, then mashing. So we're simmering it for 20 minutes, then mashing. We're going to add the mashed potato and carrots in the cooking water, mix it all together, and then we can add some cheese as well into this one. But we're going to use a little bit, mix it all up, thicken it all up, and we're going to use a blender once we've let it all soften and get to a stage where it's lovely and thick. Okay, now while we're doing that one, I thought it'd be nice, because we've got 20 minutes now, for us to have a look at making something to go dipping in with our wonderful hearty warming soup. So a scone is always a lovely one to do, and a nice savoury scone here, a nice cheesy savoury scone to go with our cheesy soup would be a lovely one. And let's say, if you wanted to, you could even make a little bowl out of this scone bread to actually put your soup into, and then you can eat the soup bowl as well, which is always kind of fun as well. You can do this with any kind of bread really, and what you do is you just, like I say, bake your bread over the top of upside down, over the top of an upside down heat-proof ramekin. So you can do like a ramekin, you can get metal ramekins or little metal bowls, or a little heat-proof ramekin like this. So something that can go into the oven, and you can actually do that, and then when you pull it out, you then turn it up the other way and you get yourself a little bowl. But let's just show you very simply, first of all, how to make the scones, because that's the next bit. So on the board here, let me change this one recipe to the next recipe, which is my little cheesy one. Now, there was some questions here about the recipe, so let me go answer those. I think I did make one mistake on the flour there, so we'll talk about that. Cheesy scones. Okay, so what we need to do with this one is we need to get our flour, self-raising flour. We're going to be using, it's actually 150. It shouldn't, it says 125. It should be 150, so apologies there. 150 grams of self-raising flour into a bowl. We're going to use 50 grams of margarine. We're going to be mixing those 150, so there, it says it right correctly there. 150 grams of flour with the margarine, butter, baking fat, alternative baking fat. Like I say, we can use a plant-based one for alternative. We're going to be getting those together, chop them up, rub them together. We're going to add some cheese in there and then some milk or dairy alternative to bring that together into a beautiful scone. Let's do that now. We're going to be using a little bit of baking powder. Baking powder is a raising agent. Baking powder helps our food to rise up. We're going to be using this one here, like I say, which is baking powder. There we go. Baking powder as our raising agent. Okay, so that's my raising agent baking powder. And that has got a dry acid and dry alkali in it. Now, it's an acid you can eat, so don't be worried. There are lots of acids you can eat, like lemon juice and vinegar, but this has got a dry acid. It's called, a dry acid is called cream of tartar, which you can actually buy separately. And by the alkali, which again, you can buy separately. Here we are. The alkali is bicarbonate of soda. Okay. We're going to combine those two together, and then it's going to form when you put some liquid in it, some fizziness. That fizziness or effervescence is going to then make our food rise up, like a bubble up. And in with the flour will form the structure, like the flour will be like the balloons. It's going to form the stretchy bits. All of the fizzy gas, CO2, is going to bubble up. And it's very like, you probably have this already, you've probably eaten baking powder. Have you all eaten baking powder before? Do you know where you might have eaten baking powder before? You ate baking powder, flavoured baking powder, that is. Whenever you have something like this is a sherbet, there we go, that has got flavoured baking powder in. And what does that do on your tongue? It fizzes, effervescence, and that's what's going to help our bread our scones to rise. So let me just get the big bowl, and we will go down, and I'm going to show you how we put all this together. So here we go. And we're just going to zoom in, and there we go. Oops. And get the big bowl. And we're going to show you, move Camera down there. There we go. We're going to show you how to put all of these ingredients together into the bowl. Now, don't forget to keep checking on your ingredients. Make sure they're going okay, softening up well. Mine is going really well. My potatoes and carrots are softening wonderfully well. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to put together now the bowl for my flour, my milk. Bring all that back over onto the board here. Here we go. Onto the board, there's my bowl. So in my bowl, I'm going to be putting my flour. So the flour here we have got is a, wrong flour. We're going to use a self-raising flour for this one. So the blue one, there we go. We're using self-raising flour for this one. Can you see that one? Hopefully you can see that one on there. We're using self-raising flour for this one. There we go. And that's just going to go into the bowl there. So we're going to, let's get the scales on there. Now, if you haven't got kitchen scales, let me weigh this one out in spoonfuls so you can know how many spoonfuls we're looking at. We are looking at, can you see that on the board there? We are looking at, for this one, putting in here 150. So let me just put that one in. So that is 150 grams. And I'll do it in spoonfuls in case you haven't got scales at home. We are in a lockdown situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, should be it. It is 6 spoonfuls of self-raising flour. In there, I've got self-raising flour. Into this, I'm going to be putting 50 grams of my my plant-based fat alternative. There's my plant-based fat alternative there. I'm going to put 50 grams. And again, if you haven't got scales, how do you know? If you look at the back of the package, it actually has the fat broken down. You see 50 grams, 50 grams. You can slice it off the correct amount you need there. So let me just get this one. I'm going to slice off 50 grams here of fat into it. Let's go 50 grams of fat into there, which looks like just a slightly more. There we go. 50 grams of fat. Perfect. Now I've got my 50 grams of fat and my flour into there. The first thing I'm going to use is using a rounded butter knife. So this is just a normal butter knife. I'm going to chop this butter up teeny tiny small. Now how small am I doing that? Hopefully you can see that on the board there. Yep, you can. How small does that need to go? Well, it needs to be about as small as rabbit poos. About as small as raisins or sultanas. So what I'm doing is I'm just chopping this up teeny tiny small. Can you see that? Chopping. This is a process we call cutting in. And we call it cutting in because that's purely and simply what you're doing there. We're just chopping this one up teeny tiny small against the side of the bowl there, all amongst that self-raising flour into a dry mix here. So that acid and alkali aren't going to react yet. They're not going to bubble away like they do on your tongue. And does that on your tongue because your tongue's wet. And this isn't going to start bubbling away because we haven't had any liquid yet. So we just cut that one up teeny tiny small. Can you see that? You can have a look on the board there. I've just chopped that one up teeny tiny small, about the size of raisins or sultanas or rabbit poos. There we go. Perfect. Now, if you want to know whether they've got any big lumps in there, just give your bowl a little tap on the side. Just a little one. We don't want to break the bowl, and you will see whether any lumps come to the top. There we go. So that has now chopped up teeny tiny small. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our fingers in. Okay. Now we need to use. Let's go back to me. You will need to use the very. You want to use the very ends of your fingers here. Okay. So we're using like the pinchy fingers, very very ends of our pinchy fingers, because we don't want to melt. What's in there? What ingredients could melt in there? You're right. The butter could melt in there. So we are. Don't want to melt it now because we want to keep this a dry mix. Okay, so we're just going to give that a little rub. So I'm just lifting and tickling, lifting and tickling. Can you see what I'm doing there? And this little lifting and tickling or rubbing in very quickly using the very ends of my fingers, not holding on for it for too long. We don't want to use the palms of our hands because it will melt. And we're going to just lift and tickle this, a cold fat, okay, until it has got teeny tiny small. Let me just zoom in again on that so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to lift and tickle, tickle and lift, lift and tickle, and just lifting it up each time. I'm rubbing those bits of fat into the flour, coating all of the flour there. And we talk about this again at GCSE. We go into a lot more detail about this. And this is something we call, it's got a special word, and we call it shortening. When we get little waterproof jackets for those tiny little bits of flour. We need to cover all of those flours so they've all got tiny waterproof jackets. So we're just doing that right now. And we're just going to lift and tickle all of that until it's all combined. We basically want to make sure that that fat just completely disappears. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that fat completely disappears. We get a little bit mucky with this one, so we're just lifting and tickling, lifting and tickling, lifting and tickling. It might be how you start making a crumble. If you've ever made a crumble before, this might be how you start making it. You might have added some oats into this one to make the tops of a crumble. There we are. Maybe even a little bit of sugar on there as well. But that's the same as we're doing now. Or you might have made a pastry before. I know we made appleberry pies before. We started a similar sort of way of doing this one, just to make a pastry top. But we are now just going to rub all those into together. Can we see what we're doing in there? There we go. We're just breaking this all the way down, breaking it all the way down. It's crumbled, it's crumbled, it's crumbled, it's crumbled. Okay, that's fine. If it starts to stick to your fingers or starts to turn yellow, stop. Okay, it means that you've gotten too far. Okay, it shouldn't mix, shouldn't do that at all. It shouldn't actually stick to your fingers at all. It should be just crumbling. You see that my fingers are actually fairly clean, actually. They're not sticky. There's no sticky butter on there. So we just keep doing that one until it all disappears. Perfect. That's what we're doing now. Now into that, we're going to add some extra baking powder. Now self-raising flour, the difference between self-raising flour and plain flour is that it's got a couple of big tablespoons of baking powder already in there. But we're just going to add to that because we want extra rise on our scones. So I've got my baking powder here. There is my baking powder. And with my baking powder now, I'm just going to be whacking into there 1 teaspoon worth of, so that's a small spoon, 1 teaspoon of this, just a small spoon. Otherwise, it tastes very like soapy. 1 teaspoon. Add some extra baking powder, some extra acid and alkali into there, dry acid and alkali, a bit like your sherbet. So you suppose you could use sherbet. No, we're not going to use sherbet. Stir all that one in. There we go. That's all in there. There we go. Now we've cut it in. We've rubbed it in. We've used our fingertips. What we're going to do is we're going to put some cheese in there. 50 grams of cheese. Let's just grate some cheese or some cheese alternative. Like I say, I'm using a cheese, you can use a cheese alternative. There's a cheese alternative there. And we're just going to grate that cheese into the bowl there. Okay, you're going to do this one as well. And we're going to grate that cheese into there. We just break a piece of cheese off and grate it in. There we go. So I've got some cheese there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grate that cheese into there. In it goes, using a cheese grater. Now be careful, cheese graters are like lots of teeny little knives, so you can still cut yourself. Don't go close to your fingers. And we're looking at 50 grams of it in there. So 50 grams, in it goes, 50 grams of grated cheese. In goes my 50 grams of grated cheese. That's going into there. What are we up to now? 10. There we go. Just keep going, 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 keep going. Halfway. Just keep going, 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 keep going. Nearly there. 45, 56, 48, 49, 50. Perfect. There is my cheese in there. Now, the final thing I'm going to be putting in there is using my rounded butter knife. I'm going to stir in this one 50 milliliters of milk. So I'm just going to put into there 50 milliliters of milk onto there. Oops. While my soup is starting to do, getting ready to go, and we're just going to put 50 milliliters of milk into there. So let's pour in 50 milliliters of milk. You might not need all of your milk. There we go. I'm going to start by putting in half of my milk. I'm going to use my rounded butter knife that I used earlier on just to stir that one through. And it's going to start to come together into a dough ball. There we go. See it starting to come together. I'm going to put the rest of my 50 milliliters in now. Gradually adding my liquid in. There we go. And that's just starting to stick together. As I start to stir this one, that is coming together into a big dough ball into the middle of this is my quick scone. There we go, into the middle there. You see how that's starting to, I'm just going to press it against the side of the bowl with my knife. It's just starting to come together. You might need a little bit more. You want a little bit more milk into there, just a tiny bit more, or a little bit more water. You could put cold, but it's important we use cold water or cold milk. Why do you think it's important that we use cold water or cold milk? Anyone have a guess as to why it's important that we use cold water or cold milk? Anyone an idea? Remember, what's the ingredient in there? It's the butter. We don't have to melt. So we're going to put some cold water or cold milk in there. Here we go. That is nearly there. You could use buttercream in this one. You can use cream. You can use all sorts of dairy or dairy alternative. Like I say, I'm using my oats in there. There we go. That is nearly there. Maybe just a teaspoon more. Not too much, not too much. You don't want it to get too deep. You can always add more milk. It's hard to take the milk away. Okay. Now that is starting to come together into a big ball of dough into the middle of my, there we go. And that is a scone. Perfect. Knead it into a ball. We're going to roll it out, cut it up into the oven. Or if you want to, you can say, try and have a go at making it into a soup bowl. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, put some flour on my work surface. There we go. A little bit of flour on my work surface. Let's clean the work surface off there. A little bit of flour onto there. I'm going to turn my dough out onto the work surface, ready to start to roll out. There we go. There it is. Now, before I roll it out, I'm just going to quickly go and check on make sure my soup bowls are all doing perfectly well. So let's just give that a good stir, make sure everything's a good stir. Okay. Good news, that's looking lovely. A bit steamy in here, I'm going to put my heat. There we go. Perfect. The carrots, potato are all softened up nicely. Everything is softened, ready for blitzing up in a minute. Wonderful. Let's get back to my dough. So I've got my dough here, my scones. Very lightly just going to shape that. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to roll that one so that it's a nice, nicely evened. And I'm going to cut this one up using my cutters. Here's my cutter. I'm going to cut up some of these nice big scones to go on my... You can use whichever size ones you wanted to cut yours. You might have smaller ones. I like a nice big chunky scone. There we go. There's one of my chunky scones. There's another one. They're going to rise up in the oven. They've got that raising agent in. They've got that dry acid and dry alkali. Should be able to get 4 big chunky ones. I like big chunky ones, but you might want to be going for smaller ones. 1, 2, 3. We'll just roll that one last one together. Okay. Just kind of roll that one together there. Perfect. Wonderful. Some scones. Now, the scones are going to go onto a baking tray. I'll put some flour on my baking tray. There's my flour on my baking tray. I'm going to lift my scones onto my baking tray. There we go. Now, if you were making a bread bowl out of this one, which you can do if you want to have a bit of a play with this one, is that you can do that one and you can do that one by just doing a scone, thin, big one right at the top of the bowl, and you can put your soup in that one. There are my scones. I'm just going to brush those with a little bit of milk, and then they're going to go into the oven, and they're going to be baking for 20 minutes at 220 gas mark. Let's just go back to me. Okay, so we're going to be baking these ones off very quickly for 20 minutes. Now I'm going to get those into the oven. So they'll go a little bit into your break. If you're watching this back at Talkie Girls Grammar, get those into the oven. Remember, if you're using the oven, you need to use oven gloves. So make sure you're using your oven gloves to get these in and out of the oven, or make sure as well you've got a grown-up available to help you. So I'm just going to get these ones in and out of the oven. Let's just quickly turn the camera around. Okay, so preheat your oven. My oven is already preheated. Okay, so I'm just going to get that one in there. The oven's preheated, so oven gloves on. You're going to get those into the oven for 20 minutes. And there we go, into the oven they go. Okay, now back to the soup. So let's go back to the soup, and we're going to finish off the soup now. Hopefully you can see that we are. Move that around the camera there so you can see. Oops. Fabulous. Now I'm just going to finish off this soup now. So we're going to go back to the soup recipe. We're going to blitz all this up. I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. So I've got my pans now. I'm going to switch off all my heat. A little bit steamy over here. Woo! A little bit steamy, but we've got everything ready to go. Now, I've got my onion and my celery, and that is beautifully with my milk there. That's in the pan there. That's been beautifully done. I'm going to pour all of this into here so you can see what I'm doing. Look at that, perfect timing, 20 minutes. That's my timer going off for everything to be doing. I'm just going to get all of that in the pan so you can see what's going on there. Switch that one off. There we go. Stand that one back. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I've got everything that was in my frying pan. You can see that one there. That was the onion, the celery, the milk, and the flour. That's in there. That's the base to it. In with that, we've got that's a little bit warm. I'm just going to use my other gloves again. Going to be just putting into there my carrot and potato. Really soften it up nicely now. Okay. Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, you can now see the carrots and the potato are in there as well. And we now need to mash all of this up together. So you can use a potato masher. Here is my potato masher, and you can mash this all up into your soup. Okay, now we're running a bit short on time now because we've only got 5-10 minutes left, so I'm just going to quickly blitz this one for you. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm a grown-up, I'm going to use a hand blender, but can you make sure that you've got grown-up close to hand to do this one, so you can use a hand blender, and this has got a really sharp knife in it that's spinning round, so that's why you need a grown-up. And they can blitz that one for you, or alternatively, we can use a food processor. So I'm going to just put quickness and ease. I'm just going to use the food processor. I'm going to put all of that wonderful goodness in there. In it goes. That's all going in there. Let's move that to the side. Okay, that's in there. That's ready to go. Final thing I'm going to do in there is a little bit of salt and pepper. Season. And it's cheesy soup. So what do we need to put in there? We need to put the cheese in there. Okay, so we're going to just put the cheese in there as well. Let me go and get the cheese, and we'll walk that one back over. So we want to be stirring in about 125 grams of cheese. Let me grab some cheese. Now, if you're not a fan of cheese and you don't want it that cheesy, that is fine by me. You put as much cheese in as you want. So I've got my cheese. I'm going to be putting my cheese into there. You put as much cheese as you want to into this one. But I would say you want to be putting in at least 50 grams. Even if you don't want to put all of that in there. You do want to be putting a good chunk of cheese in there. Now that's going to be, it's already melting with all of that ingredients that are in there. That's already melting away. Fabulous. Oh, it's mashed. That's amazing. It's smelling gorgeous. It really is. Okay, that's my cheese on the side. Okay, let's move this out the side so you can see what's going on. So I could have used a hand blender if I wanted to. I'm going to use this blender here. I'm just going to put the lid on here. There we go. Just going to pulse that one up. It's going to be a bit loud for a minute. So that's just pulsing away. And so you can use a potato masher, you can use a hand blender if you've got a grown-up to do that for you, or we can use the blender there that I've got in the kitchen, just to get all that together. I've got the cheese in there. I've got everything else in there for the ingredients. So we've got the cheddar cheese, about 125, or like I say, you can use a cheese alternative there if you want to. The cheese is in there. That's getting melted down. You've got the beautiful, it's looking so smooth and beautiful. Let's get a bowl out to show you this. Serve this one out for you so you can see that. You have a look at this beautiful, beautiful soup for you there. Okay, that's done. Remember, grown-ups only for these. Oh, I'm going to have to show you this on the camera. Look at this. Favourite type of soup. Look at that. If you can see that on there, that is absolutely creamy, creamy, creamy. And it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's creamy, it's smooth. I'm just going to pour some of that in a bowl so you can see that one. Oh. That is so smooth and creamy. That is unbelievable. That is the perfect accompaniment for a cold winter's day, that one. Let me just put that one over there. Show you what that looks like. Here we go. That is my soup for a winter's day. Let's have a look, show you down there. In fact, I'll bring it over to the table so you can see it a bit better. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just put on top of that, just to add just a little bit of seasoning on it. I'll tell you what I'm going to add. I'm going to add a little bit of paprika. I'll just put on top of that, just to add a little bit more warmth, just to add a bit more colour to that. So I'm just going to get a teaspoon. And I'm just going to put a little bit of paprika just on that. There we go, just a little splattering on top there. Perfect. Oh. Let's have a bring this over and show you what this looks like. Oh. A bit warm, but it's smelling absolutely delicious. We're nearly there, and we'll be able to get out and smell my scones. It's nearly there to dunk into this one. Here we go. Move the camera around. Here we go. There is my wonderful soup. I'll just show you down there. That is my wonderful soup on the board there. It's beautiful. I love probably a bit too much with the whole paprika there, but really nice warming soup there. It's beautiful, 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 beautiful. That's what hopefully you're going to be making. Now, together with this one, let's go back to me. Okay, together with me, there we are, that's the end of our soup. You could just make your own soup bowls there, like out of scone breads and make out breads. It's a really fun thing to do if you've got extra time today, to try and think about making actually your bread roll into the bread there. We've only got a few moments left, so let me finish off with this one. Scones are just going to be coming out. Hopefully I can get those out in a minute. They're going to ping for me in a minute, and I can show you the beautiful scones that are going to go with this one as well. You've got your wonderful soup. Whoa, I'm looking forward to eating that. Wonderful warming soup there with, like I say, lots of fruit and vegetables in there for you. Lots of cutting skills you've gone through. I'm very impressed by how well you've all worked today. So thank you for, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you if you're watching it in the class today, going through making our soup. Now, the most important thing in the last few minutes is, can you please make sure you are washing up properly? As the last slide here would always goes on, as I tell everybody when they're doing this one, it is really important that we have washed up. Okay, so the final thing you need to be doing is collecting all of the equipment you've used and washing up. Please make sure the first thing you wash up is your knives. Don't let the knives go into this hot soapy water. You need to be holding on to them. Use a brush, like a washing up brush, to brush away, and then place it at the back of your area. So make sure your knives are the first thing you wash up, okay? Then after your knives, the other sharp items, so you've got your peeler, you want to be doing that, and also your grater. That needs to go into, be washed up next. Don't let them go into it, otherwise you'll hurt yourself when you pull them out. Make sure you're using hot soapy water, as hot as you possibly can, and with as much detergent in there, so about a tablespoon's worth of detergent in there, or washing up liquid to make sure it's properly clean. Otherwise you might be cheating and using dishwasher, but make sure you're cleaning up. When you're cleaning up your sides, can you make sure you've wiped down all your sides first so there's no flour on there that's going to form a sticky mess when you clean up. So wipe down everything off your sides before you start getting hot soapy water to clean your sides down as well after you've finished. When you've done that, make sure everything's dry and clean with a tea towel. Dry, not your knives though or your sharps, just everything else is clean and dry with your tea towels, and then you clean and dry your sides down as well. I hope you've had a fantastic lesson there and you've enjoyed cooking with me today. Thank you again so much for doing that one today. I'm just going to see if the scones are ready to show you those before we go. Let's have a look. Are they nearly ready to go? They need about another 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll post a picture for those ones. They need about five more minutes with those. But thank you ever so much for joining us today for our hearty, cheesy vegetable soup there with bacon, cheese in, and making the cheese scones there to go with it, to dip inside it. I'd love to see some pictures of what you've done. If you're watching Talking Girls Grammar, can you please post those pictures through Teams? If you're watching from YouTube, please just use the link there to email us any photos you've got. We'd love to see all those photos. Thank you so much again. You've learned so much about knife skills. You've learned so much about chopping. You've learned so much about how to make this wonderful soup that we've all got to eat now. I'm really, really impressed by all of that. So well done. Be good, be safe, take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Thank you, everybody.